thanks. Like, hey, Scoob, did you hear Nikki Blake is hosting a Scooby-Doo panel? No. Yeah. Like on today's Scooby-Doo episode, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy meet Nikki Blake. Yeah, and a Scooby Panel. Like, we need to get this puppy started. Okay, Nikki Blake, take it away, Scooby-Doo.
Welcome to the Scooby Panel. I'm your host, Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com, and today we are talking about more real crimes and other Scooby-related news articles. Before we begin, I will have everyone introduce themselves, and Wendy will start with you.
Hi guys, I'm Wendy BRYDGE. I'm a commission artist, and I've been collecting Scooby for over 30 years.
Joel?
Hey there, I am Joel from the YouTube channel Planet Scooby.
So we found some more articles about real crimes involving Scooby-Doo. So we figured we'd talk about them. The first one, wanted murder suspect has Scooby-Doo tattoo on right arm. On Saturday, November 11th, 2023, in Independence, Missouri, a suspect stabbed a man who was taken to the fire department for medical treatment. The suspect was described as a white male, 5 foot 10 inches, 155 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes, a Rispetto tattoo on the right side of his neck, and a Scooby-Doo tattoo on his right arm. 34-year-old Anthony J. Durkin was arrested in the stabbing of 46-year-old Bonmi Suwadi, who died as firefighters were rendering aid. There were no details released about why the stabbing occurred, and I wasn't able to find out anything about whether he was actually charged or not for the stabbing. What are your thoughts on the guy that stabbed the guy and he had a Scooby tattoo? Wendy?
Okay, first thing that I was like, did it say Scooby-Doo or was it a tattoo of Scooby?
I don't know. There was no picture. There was nothing. I was very disappointed.
No, but the way that they put Scooby-Doo in parentheses, though, I'm thinking parentheses was not the word I wanted. Quotation marks. I'm thinking that it said Scooby-Doo, which is an interesting choice if you're going to get a Scooby tattoo. So I'm curious if the terminology Scooby-Doo had some other kind of connotation to it for this person, as we know that, like, later on we'll find out, you know, drugs, Scooby snacks, there's that kind of thing going on. So I would just be curious to know, like, was it a picture of Scooby's face or was it just the words Scooby-Doo? And, like, if it actually had anything to do with the cartoon character for that person. Because people come up with all kinds of different, you know, they relate different things to things that we would never relate them to. So I'm curious if there was some kind of like symbolism in that for him, or if he was actually a Scooby fan.
It's possible. I did look for other pictures of him, and the only thing I found was some more mug shots. So apparently he didn't learn his lesson, you know. Yeah. Joel, what are your thoughts on the guy with the Scooby tattoo?
Yeah, I looked too, and I couldn't find any pictures, and I was so disappointed. They only showed the tattoo of like the other word. What was it? Respecto?
Rispetto, which
Rispetto?
means respect.
Yeah. So this guy had no respect for anyone because he's Mr. Stabby. Yeah, I never thought about having the word Scooby-Doo tattooed on you. That's weird, but now what Wendy mentioned, that makes sense. And I have more to talk about that later.
It does make sense. And I don't know. I mean, if you're going to be stabbing people, don't have Scooby tattooed on you in any way. Like, just don't do it.
Or respecto.
Yeah. Yeah. Our next article, Milwaukee Police Canine Scooby-Doo helped secure City Hall after bomb threat. On November 8, 2023, a bomb threat was called into the Milwaukee City Hall in Milwaukee, Oregon. Law enforcement searched the building with the help of a bomb-sniffing canine named Scooby-Doo. Nothing suspicious was found. However, the municipal court and the city business offices remained closed for the rest of the day. 32-year-old Harris Orions was taken into custody and charged with disorderly conduct and obstructing governmental administration. Joel, what are your thoughts on this? And our helpful canine friend, Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, this is supposed to be like a feel-good story. But I don't like it because I don't want the dog to blow up. Uh, I understand, dogs, they can smell these things or they get trained to smell bombs, but we're in an age where we don't need to be blowing up our dogs, I think. But yeah, it's a cute story, all things said. This
I,
dog's out there saving lives every day, smelling for bombs, I guess.
yeah, it's his job.
Yeah,
So,
well, he doesn't
he
get,
hasn't blown up yet, as far as I know.
let's hope.
Let's hope. Wendy, what are your thoughts on Scooby-Doo, the canine cop dog?
So this story made me think how much I love that Scooby in just general life is synonymous with doing good and helping people, and ironically, bravery. Because Scooby spends so much time being afraid in the show, but if you stop and you actually think about what you're watching and how the writers wrote that character and how he behaves, him being scared is just the funny shtick. Because in the end, Scooby always shows the bravery and comes through and saves the day. So I love that a character from a cartoon, regardless of how modern day writing would like to tweak him and make him more quote unquote human and fallible and flawed, that his name is still associated with bravery and just altogether goodness. It's a bomb sniffing dog. Its job is dangerous. The dog needs to be brave. I mean, I know dogs are trained to do something. Does it know it's dangerous? Probably not. But that's not the point. It is a dangerous job, and people have chosen that name for him, calling him that, referring to them, even if it's not your dog's actual name. We still see that terminology of Scooby being used in that sense. And I think that that is part of Scooby's legacy that should be celebrated and talked about. So I think this was my favorite story because it just shows how ingrained the goodness of Scooby is in people all over the world, that we're even seeing him remembered and brought up in the real world too. And that the lessons that Scooby taught us in fiction land are totally applicable in the real world too. And yeah, bravo to bomb sniffing dog Scooby for not blowing up, because he's obviously very good at his job.
It is kind of a feel-good story, and it's kind of like Scooby-esque. I mean, bomb threat gets called in and Scooby saves the day, right? And I really hope that canine cop Scooby gets a lot of Scooby snacks.
Yeah,
because he deserves them for putting his life on the line. Yeah. Yeah. Next article. Bradenton man sold Scooby snacks and other drugs through Cash App. On August 4th, 2022, in Bradenton, Florida, 43-year-old Andre Adams Jr. was convicted on drug and gun charges after prosecutors say he used Cash App to sell heroin, cocaine, and meth. As law enforcement began investigating, they found that his Cash App records showed that he was paid tens of thousands of dollars over a short amount of time, and many of the senders were known drug offenders that used the code Scooby Snacks, which is a street term for heroin and fentanyl. Detectives found a loaded handgun, $22,000 in cash, 400 grams of cocaine, 55 grams of meth, 80 grams of fentanyl, a money counter, kilo press, drug cutting agents, and scales when they searched his home. They found 3 more guns, including an AK-47 rifle, several dozen rounds of ammunition, 2 kilograms of cocaine, more than 350 grams of meth, drug cutting agents, and a digital scale after searching his storage unit. Andre Adams Jr. faced 5 to 40 years in federal prison. His hearing was scheduled for October 15th, 2024. I didn't find anything saying what the outcome of that was. He had previously been convicted of trafficking cocaine and spent 15 years in Florida State Prison. Therefore, he is prohibited from possessing a firearm or ammunition under federal law. Wendy, what are your thoughts on our drug-dealing Scooby Snacks guy?
Okay, well, let's start out with, especially given that this is not his first offense doing this, I hope he got the full 40 years. Secondly, anyone who has watched the panels knows that we are anti-drugs and we are absolutely anti-associating Scooby with drugs in any way, shape, or form, because we have proven over the years, we have talked to, if you want to get technical about it, we have talked to people that worked on Scooby who have categorically stated this drug stuff, it's not. Shaggy's not a stoner. Drugs were not a thing in the show. Get over it. Okay? It's not a thing. So anytime that I see people making that association in the real world between drugs and Scooby, absolutely not. That to me is just, it's disgusting on a whole other level. That terminology should never have been applied, and shame on criminals who think that like that's an okay thing to do. What you're doing with the drugs is already bad enough. Pulling a kid's cartoon into it that is meant to be very innocent and wholesome and just degrading it in that way, you deserve the 40 years for that alone, to be perfectly honest. We have seen how children get involved then with drug things, and that's not, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. And especially leave things like Scooby out of it. I get that these people like have very few brain cells anyway to work with, but yeah, it doesn't matter that you don't care and that you don't see the problem. The rest of us see the problem, and it definitely is a problem. Yeah, I have no respect for people that can utter those two things in the same sentence, to be honest. It's just not. And obviously, I'm not up on the whole drug scene, but from the way that the article worded that, this is not like an isolated incident where just like a few people are using this terminology to describe these things. This is just the thing that it's become out on the street. And like, gross. It's gross, guys.
Whoever decided to call them Scooby Snacks, I think they need to get 40 years in prison.
Agreed.
Yeah, like we don't need to bring Scooby into things like this.
No.
Joel, what are your thoughts on Scooby Snack drug dealing guy?
Yeah, the most surprising thing to me was, again, the street name for fentanyl and heroin, like the most potent death-killing drug out there, I think. I don't know. It was called Scooby Snacks. That's just, imagine how rock bottom you are, where you need these drugs and you're like showing up to someone's house needing a fix and you've got the jitters and you're just like, Scooby Snack. I mean, like, that's gotta be depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, do they label these things? Like, if a bag says Scooby Snack on it, like, what if a kid gets a hold of that? Like, a person, every walk of life uses drugs. It's not just like a specific person. Like, rich people use fentanyl, I imagine, heroin, and fathers use it, mothers use it. It's sad and depressing. But what if some parent brings it home and leaves it on the counter and a kid sees Scooby on it? Like, what if they put like a Scooby-Doo sticker or something? Like, it's bad news all around.
I'm sure it's happened. And if I really did a lot of research, we could probably do a whole panel on that. Yeah. Anyway, real life Scooby-Doo thwarts crime in Chicago. In January of 2011, in Logan Square, Illinois, a 160-pound Great Dane named Scooby-Doo saved a 14-year-old girl from being sexually assaulted by a man named Larry Smith, who grabbed the girl and tried to rip her clothes off. Scooby and his owner heard the girl scream and sprang into action. They chased Smith down an alley and pinned him behind a garbage can until police arrived. A neighbor said Scooby should be recognized as a hero. Joel, what are your thoughts on real life Scooby?
Scooby needs to be recognized as a hero. 100%. I agree.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
Yeah, definitely another like feel good story. I like when there's good stories. I mean, for the girl, it wasn't good.
No. Well, it ended up better case scenario than worst case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what kind of crazy person does something like that? Like,
Yeah, it's
I can never ever understand the mentality of somebody that would do something to anyone of any age.
and you don't want to believe someone's out there doing it, but I guess it does happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Wendy, what are your thoughts on real life Scooby?
I agree. Scooby's a hero, no matter how you slice it. This one so much reminded me of the times where in episodes of Scooby, Scooby gets mad and he gets really brave. He doesn't need any coaxing to be brave. He doesn't need a Scooby snack. He just recognizes, danger or something really bad's going down. And he's like, not on my watch. And that reminded me of this, because in the video, they talk about how, oh, he's such a sweet, like gentle giant, right? That's how we look at Great Danes. But when there's like, 100+ pound dog coming after you, doesn't matter how sweet you think they are, it's a little bit scary. And if one did bite you, I think it would probably do some damage, And so definitely was thinking of Scooby when the ape man in Never Ape and Ape Man is trying to get candy on the bridge. And Scooby is just like snarling and barking and everything and telling the ape man off and saves candy. This was like the real world scenario of that.
Yeah.
And like Nikki said, I mean, what happened is a very serious thing. And that's not okay for anybody to be doing that. And I feel horrible that anyone out there ever has to go through it. But again, just such a nice to see something positive associated with Scooby, and seeing how also, I mean, it might be a bit of a stretch, but I don't think so. Seeing a real Great Dane exhibiting characteristics of Scooby. Well, Scooby, a human being wrote Scooby. Human beings created Scooby's character. I mean, his internal character. And I love to see that, just that like gentle giant, but don't mess around, because even the gentlest of giants can pack a pretty big bite and is not going to put up with your BS. So I love to see Scooby in relation to something, again, good, and the bravery aspect of it, because again, Scooby's cowardice is not the point of the show. The whole point is that, yes, you can be scared, but when you know what's right and you want to do what's right and you want to help people, you can be brave when it counts. And that is Scooby. And I think we've seen that in a real life dog here too. And that's pretty special. So yeah, hero status for Scooby, 100%. Somebody make that happen for sure.
Yeah, I hope they did. I didn't see anything else. I couldn't find any more information on it. I do hope that they did, give Scooby a ton of Scooby snacks, or I don't know, anything to show that he did a good job, because,
Yeah.
he did. He saved that girl, him and his owner. And that was a really good thing, especially because, I mean, now most people just kind of turn a blind eye to anything that's going on because they don't want to get involved. And had they done that, it would have been awful. So, yeah. Blatant disrespect. Colleague upset over Antioch teacher's controversial Halloween costume. In November of 2023, a fourth grade teacher at Sutter Elementary School in Santa Clara, California, was put on administrative leave over her Halloween costume for the school parade. The teacher wore a Mystery Machine costume and a moon over her head. She painted her face black to represent the night sky. The teacher was said to have only worn the Mystery Machine costume and moon for the parade. While teaching the rest of the day, she wore a black shirt, black pants, and her face was painted black. The teacher's colleague said, "I personally took it as disrespect just because blackface was used to mock so many African Americans, my ancestors, and stuff like that. I took that as blatant disrespect." Wendy, what are your thoughts on the teacher?
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts about this one. First things first, racism is colorless. So anyone with a pulse who breathes can be a racist, regardless of what color their skin is. And there is absolutely a racist in this story, and it is not the woman who dressed up for Halloween. It is the teacher that took it upon herself to cause a scene, make drama, quite potentially may get the other teacher fired. And I think that's really disgusting. Intent is very important in every aspect of life. And this idea that we have today that like everything is offensive, boy, you really haven't seen much. If the most offended that you can be is by somebody's Halloween costume, then you should thank God that your life has been that pleasant up to that point. If that is what you consider to be like the height of being offended. People are offended by things every day, but you know what? You just deal with it because that's life. No two people are the same. Everyone has likes, they have dislikes, and no one can read that story and say that that teacher meant to be offensive to anyone. And I think it's really, really gross that the other teacher was even allowed to make it this far with this story. I thought it was really interesting how they showed the picture of the teacher that was dressed up, and yet the teacher causing the complaint clearly did not want to be identified on camera. All we see is the back of her head. We see her wringing her hands. We don't know her name. She wants to just be anonymous, but it's okay. Let's drag this other teacher. From the looks of the teacher that wanted to be anonymous and the sound of how she was talking and how she sounded, I would very, very, very highly suspect that she's probably just at a teacher's college, like under 25 years old. So I'm not surprised, because that is what this generation that's up and coming right now, that's like how they live. They live to be offended. You're making life miserable for everybody else. I don't care what the offense is. I don't care what anybody's race is. It's not about that. It's about your behavior. And she brings up, other Black kids in the teacher that dressed up in her classroom. Well, were any of those kids offended? And if they were, was it because you planted the idea in them that they should be? Because if you're running around doing that, you're the problem. That honestly, like, that is one of the most infuriating news stories that I have read lately, because the fact that they sided with this teacher that is just trying to stir up drama, like, nobody has a backbone anymore either. So that wasn't cool. There was nothing wrong with her costume. You can see it in the news video. There was nothing wrong with it. Everyone just like quit being offended by everything. Like, stop it. Like, grow up. Okay, we're not 4 years old, and you have to be able to like live in the world, and deliberately trying to like get people fired over nothing is not okay. It's just not. Was there a criminal offense in this story? Yeah, and it was the teacher that complained. Just plain and simple. She has no justification for the trouble that she is causing over this. And this is the kind of behavior that does breed racism. Because when anyone acts a certain way, people are going to judge you based on how you act. And rightfully so. So yeah, everyone, like, calm down. Calm down. There's no need for this crap at all.
Joel, what are your thoughts on the teacher?
For me, I think the administration of the school is in the wrong. They should have foreseen this, maybe. They should know their staff, and they should have probably nipped this in the bud a little early if they thought they saw a problem coming, instead of letting the teacher aggravate or whatever, piss off this other teacher the whole day, knowing sparks would fly. Like, why did this? I know they probably gave the teacher administrative leave because everyone needs to cool down, but I just think they did a poor job in controlling this in the first place. Like, yeah, I don't know what I'm really trying to say here, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's fair for the teacher to be sent home and not come back and work when it's the administration. They should have, they've worked long enough in this situation. They know that they were probably like, I don't know. And yeah, like, I don't know the full story. Maybe the one teacher had a vendetta against this other lady and just used it to stir the pot. I don't know. Because it just seems off, the story. And then, like, how did the newspaper get a hold of this story, right? Like, who leaked this? Someone leaked it, and I don't think it's the teacher who got sent home for administration leave. She's probably embarrassed and just wants to speak her side, but she's silent. She can't even speak her own side. Wouldn't be the school, so it just leaves another person who's probably leaked it to the newspaper. It's just something smells rotten in Denmark to me about this whole story.
She did say she wanted to tell her side of the story, but they told her she needed to stay quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem. Like, why does the other teacher get to say, oh, you offended me, but then the teacher can't defend herself?
Right.
And I mean, she obviously was not trying to do this to be offensive. You know, there is a difference between trying to offend people and not trying to offend people. Like, she wasn't trying to offend anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I feel like if you have a problem with someone, then maybe you should just go to that person and tell them what your problem is. I mean, why would you like go to a news outlet and be like, well, this is going to be national news because you offended me? Why not just go to the teacher and say, look, I feel offended by this. Can you please like wash your face? Or ask the administration to do that.
Yeah.
It does seem really odd that this became a national story. And it was not, I mean, unless that teacher that wore the mystery machine had like an issue with people and was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. But I don't know. I just, based on what we know of the story, it didn't seem like it was an attack on anybody or meant to offend anybody.
No.
No, especially when it sounded like it said that the teacher that complained was getting backlash from the rest of the faculty for making a stink about it too.
Yeah.
So that would point to like the teacher that wore the costume. I don't think she was like, the black sheep of the school and who was always just like everyone hated her and was out to just like cause trouble.
Mhm.
I think this is definitely more because I think we all know who leaked it to the newspaper, and it was the teacher that complained.
Right.
And that just goes to show, which we see on social media all the time now, people shaming other people over nothing on social media. That is the whole shtick. I'm offended. Someone do something for me. So if they don't make it public, they're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's for the drama. It's for the, I don't know, sympathy. I don't know what they think they're going to get out of it, but I feel like that's the whole purpose. So she probably deliberately would go the whole day, maybe making snide comments behind the teacher's back about the costume, and then blow it all to hell at the end of the day when, like you say, I still think even if she didn't like it, she should have just kept her mouth shut because it was not done in poor taste. And I don't think it was poor taste, but yeah. And like Joel said, school board, contain this. This did not need to go to the news. This did not need to end in administrative leave. Have a backbone and control the people that are working under you. Cause this is like being in a kindergarten room, and everyone's too afraid of offending everybody else. And it's like, guys, someone needs to be in charge and put the kibosh on that stuff.
Yeah. I also kind of feel like she didn't need the black face paint either. I mean, the mystery machine doesn't just go out at night.
Well, I mean, she was also wearing black pants and a black shirt.
Which
So
I
that
would do with my mystery machine costume.
absolutely, the
Yeah.
point is that your showcase, like your costume is not you.
Yeah.
It's these things that are on you. So I mean, what better color to black out? I mean, that's why we have that term, to black something out. It's like, guys, offended? Come on.
Yeah. But I do still think that, if people have a problem with somebody, they need to go to them and tell them. Like, there's no reason that adults cannot go to somebody and say, like, you did something that I don't like. Can you fix it? Unless that person says no, F you, then, you don't know. Maybe they'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Let me fix this. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Our final article, Scooby-Doo. Puppy blows up owner's house after chewing through can of deodorant. So just to note, I thought this was satire, and I wasn't sure because, I mean, it just seemed like it wasn't a real thing, right? So I consulted someone from the UK. I asked Mark Norman, author of Zoinks, the spooky folklore behind Scooby-Doo, to let me know if this was actually true. And he did confirm that the story was reported across multiple reliable UK news sources. So it's not satire. And then he gave me a message for you, Wendy.
Okay.
He wanted me to mention that the behavior of the dog in this article was almost as bad as what you would see from Scrappy.
Mm-hmm. Well, Scrappy was a puppy. So puppies exhibiting puppy behavior would make sense.
I can't agree with that. Scrappy was mean. He would set the house on fire on purpose.
No, he wouldn't. You stop that. He would never. Maybe if the villain was inside.
Okay. In Goldthorpe, South Yorkshire, England, a 6-month-old greyhound puppy named Zeus chewed through a can of Lynx deodorant while his owners, Carrie Leach and Matthew Heckler, were away shopping. The contents of the can sprayed out and were ignited by the heat when the back boiler came on, which caused an explosion. The blast caused 2,000 pounds worth of damage, which is approximately $2,592.20 in US money, shattered double glazed windows, or as we call them, dual pane windows, in the living room, cracked the fireplace, blew through floorboards, and set the sofa on fire. It's my kind of dog. The can of deodorant was a Christmas gift to Matthew from Carrie's parents and was left in a gift box right next to the fire and back boiler. Professor Tom Welton, head of the chemistry department at Imperial College London, said the butane in the deodorant is highly flammable. The lowest temperature it can be ignited is minus 60 degrees Celsius, so it is very dangerous stuff. These cans do come with warnings, but obviously a puppy can't read those. That's my favorite part of this article, him saying that. Zeus and the 5 other pets in the house were not harmed in the explosion, and Zeus was not in trouble because he's a puppy and he'll chew on anything. Joel, what are your thoughts on the puppy who blew up his owner's house?
Well, I never thought I'd be sticking up for Scrappy, but I mean, every dog's always finding a new way to try and kill themselves. There's a battery. I'm going to swallow that. It's just what dogs do. I'm glad everyone was fine. All the puppies were fine, or all the other animals were fine. I think UK should switch to stick deodorant, not use this highly flammable, death-defying, killing aerosol stuff. We used to have PSAs as a kid with it, like shaving cream bottles. I remember there'd be commercials like don't leave this in the hot sun because it'll explode. Maybe I'm imagining that, but it gave me like a fear for aerosol cans for a long time. And then it didn't work on anyone else because I just walked past friends and they'd have like a can of spray paint and a rusty nail and they'd be trying to, because when you shake a can of spray paint, you hear that little marble in there. They're up there like the little marble in there. I'm assuming they're all alive. I don't remember any of my friends dying in school, but yeah, aerosols, they're bad for the ozone. Let's just wear our stick deodorants. We don't need these spray on stuff. Because dogs chew on them and houses explode. It's bad news.
The real crime is that the guy got deodorant from his girlfriend's parents for Christmas.
That's a sign.
Who gives deodorant as a Christmas gift?
It's a subtle hint that the guy stinks.
Wow.
Wendy, what are your thoughts on the dog that blew up the house?
Okay, first of all, if someone bought me the deodorant that I like for Christmas, I'd be like, thank you very much. That shit is expensive. So yeah, I would be very happy with that. Secondly, I'm sorry, what was that last line of the article? That he didn't get in trouble because he's a puppy?
Yeah.
So can we so why are we blaming Scrappy for doing puppy things if he's
Because
just a puppy?
Scrappy is a bully. Zeus wasn't a
Oh,
bully. He was just a playful little puppy and he thought he was having fun.
what if he knew what he was doing and he was trying to kill his friends?
Mm,
And then it backfired
I
because
think-
they were all fine.
I think if Zeus was trying to kill his friends, they'd all be dead.
Well, I don't know. Requires further research, perhaps.
I'm
To
just
see.
going to say that I blame Mark because he's the reason we brought up Scrappy. And now I'm alone because even Joel is defending Scrappy.
There we go. Perfect. Okay. That's good. Yeah, you've been redeemed tonight. It's
Well,
okay.
it's 2 against 2 because we got Mark on your side. So,
Yeah, but Mark's
Yeah, but
not
he's
here.
not
so it
here.
doesn't count.
well,
He
he
doesn't-
mentioned.
It doesn't count. Sorry, Mark. Next time. No, I mean, this, like, in all seriousness, this should serve as a bit of a PSA. There are things that you have in your house that you use on a regular basis that can be dangerous. And it is very, very easy to like forget about that. So every once in a while, I think it's good to see a story like this where no one was hurt. Hopefully the homeowners had insurance and that covered, the 2,000 pounds of damage, hopefully. It was kind of a miracle that like no one got hurt and it didn't destroy the entire house. Like I think they were very fortunate for that. But yeah, definitely just be aware of the things that you have in your house. Also, and I know that this is like a little controversial with people, but you can train puppies not to chew on stuff. None of my dogs chewed on anything because they got disciplined for doing it and they learned really quickly not to. So I think this is also maybe a PSA that like if you have a dog, you might want to train it not to chew on random stuff because like honestly, what would possess a dog to chew on a can of deodorant? If your dog is a chewer, do you not have toys for them? Do you not put them like in a pen or something when you leave? I feel like there is maybe like there's the potential for a tiny bit of negligence on part of the pet owners here. Because of everything in your house, your dog's going to go find a can of deodorant to chew on. Also just seems like just a little bit off to me. I don't know what it is about it, but it seems like just a little bit off. But I can't agree with like switching to stick deodorant though, because like in the last year, I have switched from a stick to a spray and I'm never going back. So if that does get outlawed, I mean, my house will be the house to blow up because I will be hoarding like 10,000 cans of deodorant and I'm probably going to be the one that like explodes my house with it. So if my house explodes, you guys will know what happened. I was hoarding my deodorant.
It is odd that the dog would have chosen the deodorant over the box that it was in. Because I feel like it would have chewed the box before a can. I don't know. Yeah. I've had dogs that have chewed on shoes and other random things, but nothing like metal. I did have a dog that ate my TV remote.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Do you know what the date, like what time of year that article was on? Came out on?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. It was January 2014, so it was 10 years ago. So I mean, $2,000, well, 2,500 here, seems like really low for the amount of damage that it caused. Like the window itself would cost $2,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so 10 years ago, things were cheaper.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said January, because I was curious if it was like later in the year. I was gonna say, well, the real crime is leaving your Christmas gifts out that long. But if it was January, that I understand, because I do that too. But if it was gonna be like August or something, I was gonna say, guys, like, put that stuff away. It's time for it to go in the bathroom.
Yeah. So the moral of this story is, if you have puppies or dogs that like to chew, or any animal that likes to chew, don't leave things around like batteries and can aerosol anything for them to chew on, or your house could blow up.
Yep.
And it's way more expensive now to fix it than it was 10 years ago. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Final thoughts on these crimes and Scooby related articles. Wendy?
Crime doesn't pay, and Scooby always represents the good. So let's keep Scooby to the positive. Let's keep drugs to the negative. And that's it.
Joel, final thoughts?
I'm excited for part 3 of this, because we're going to discuss lock-picking panthers, neighbors with goats, and roosters who hang out by rivers.
Oh, no. Okay.
Just a teaser.
That panel is going to definitely have an 18+ rating. Yes. And I dressed like a criminal today just so that we could talk about these articles, because I thought that that would be appropriate.
Perfect.
I am not a criminal, as far as I know. I haven't done anything wrong, as far as I know.
There's still that missing baby kangaroo named Scooby, though.
That's true.
Just saying.
I should find him. He's definitely not here. You'd know if he was here. He'd be on every panel. If I had a kangaroo, he'd be in every panel. He'd be sitting right here.
Maybe
I would train him to not move. He would just be a statue, and you would all think he's a statue. But every time you see him, he'd be like changed a little bit in a little different position. But you would have no idea that he was real. Anyway, we're gonna wrap things up. Before we do, let everyone know where they can find you on social media. And Wendy, we'll start with you.
On Instagram, I'm at WendyBRYDGE. Twitter, X, I'm Wendy Loves Jesus. And my blog is wendylovesjesus.wordpress.com.
Joel?
I'm on the YouTubes. Type in Planet Scooby.
And you can find all my links on ScoobyAddicts.com. Make sure you let us know your thoughts on these crazy crimes and using Scooby-Doo. And thank you for joining us for another Scooby Panel. Thank you for tuning in to another Scooby Panel. I'm Nikki Blake from ScoobyAddicts.com. If you like these panels, please subscribe to my channel for more great discussions. A huge shout out to our patrons, Julie Rosen, Ross from ScoobyFan.net, Tagus, Garrett Spencer, Paul the Scooby Dude, and Jesse. If you would like to support the Scooby Panel, please go to patreon.com/ScoobyAddicts. A very special thank you to artist, blogger, and Scooby collector Wendy Bridge and Joel from Planet Scooby. Scooby Panel is available in podcast form on most podcast platforms or as a web series on YouTube. You can find Scooby Panel on Instagram, Facebook, and X as @ScoobyPanel. We are part of the Collector's Maze Network, where you can find all things geek. Scooby and Shaggy were voiced by Scott Innes. Check out Scott's website, onescottshop.com. Scooby Addicts artwork by Will Davenport. Scooby Panel logo by Garrett Spencer. Video editing by Nikki Blake. Music composed and performed by Bovine Nightmares. Please join us next time for another Scooby Panel.